What's up, everybody? 2026 is a new year. Something new, something to do. What y'all got going on? Me, life's been moving forward. It keeps getting better. I'm still here. I woke up this morning, so I say I'm blessed. And, I'm blessed by the best and praying for the rest. Because this is, like I say, the best I've ever been doing. I work hard and I still got bills and I still got problems and I still got issues. But look, everybody's healthy. I'm Grandpa Joey now. I got my grandbaby in the house right now, so I really don't want to. That's kind of been what's been keeping me from, what I'm saying, my short. So I apologize, but what I'm saying, baby time is the best time. So what I'm saying, I'm loving life right now. Grandpa Joey's alive and well, living, enjoying, working. Trying to, what I'm saying, trying to make it happen. I want to get a world to my little grandbaby. So that's where I'm at right now. And what I'm saying, it's all what you make it. I've been on the bottom. I've been through the bottom. I've been below the bottom. I've been some rough places, some ugly places, some not happy places. But now life keeps getting better. I've what I'm saying, don't get me wrong, there's always struggle and people embrace the struggle because when there's struggle, that means there's going to be change. So you got to get through the struggle to get to the change, to get to something better. And you constantly strive for better. That's all you can do. I can't control a lot of the stuff that goes on in the world I live in, so I'm not gonna be worrying about it. I can't deal with all of that. I'm gonna deal with what I got going on right here. My first community is my family. So my responsibility is to do for my family and take care of my family. Then, you know, reach out from there. But what I'm saying, I'm part of my community. I'm saying, I'm not there every day, because I'm at work. I'm chasing a bag, ain't no handouts in this world, But don't get me wrong, I'm saying, I've been given hand ups. That's what I call it. Now, I'm saying, anytime I can, I'm saying, I'm always be here to give somebody a hand up. Because like I said, I'm saying, I've been given a hand up on a couple occasions, and that's kind of what it's about. It's about, reaching out to help someone who's struggling, but trying to do what's right and what's good and struggling. And I'm saying, those are the people that need help. Because I know, like, I was out there ripping and running wild and in the streets, and we was chasing after money. That was the main, but for some it was reputation, or money, or what I'm saying, just to be known, or it's always something. So it's what do you want? And what do you want? Because everybody wants something different. But what I'm saying, most people, what I'm saying, want the same things. That's what I'm coming to see. Most people want the same things, but they don't know how to get it, or they're, what I'm saying, or they're afraid, or they're too stuck in their ways to change. Now they believe. But it's never too late to change. It's never too late to stand tall. It's never too late to step up. It's never too late to push forward. It's never too late, you know. As long as you got breath in your body, I'm saying, it's time to push, and it's a lot of pushing need to go down because it's a whole lot of stuff, I'm saying, I don't agree with in the world, but I can't do nothing about that. I can't control none of that. My little vote, I'm saying, I don't believe does much, but I vote. I'm able to vote. For most of my life, I wasn't able to vote until I was in my 50s because I was always on some kind of parole, probation, or incarceration, and mostly incarceration. Like, after 20 years in the California prison system. But if you got 20 years anywhere, I don't care where you at, you better, I'm saying, learn and soak up as much as you can, because that was like, that was where I grew up. My whole 20s was spent in incarcerated, and then, I did a few more here and there. And I was doing jolts. I wasn't doing 2 years here, 3 years. My first term, I was sentenced to 4 years with halftime, and you're only supposed to do two. But I ended up doing three because, I'm white and I'm with the Crips, so that was frowned upon. The administration, you know, the police advocate this because they keep the inmates fighting amongst themselves so that they can get together and fight against them, because there's very few watching over very many. So how do you keep the very many, you know, in control? Keep them fighting each other. But that's where learning comes in. You know, I had to learn these things, you know, and I learned them from experience, from watching it, from being involved in it, to being a part of it. That really happens. This isn't just something I'm saying. Prison politics are really, really difficult in California. I don't know how they are now. I can only speak on my perspective of when I was in there and what I was doing and what I was going through, you know, because it was a different time. You know, this was the 90s. That was, you know, I'm gonna say, you know what I'm saying, one of the most violent times in California prison system. And, you know, I'm only saying that because, you know what I'm saying, I was involved. You know, I had to resort to violence to survive. Because if it wouldn't have been for me fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, if I would have just gave up, I would have been, you know what I'm saying, you know, hauled out of there in a body bag. And, you know, and that's reality. Prison politics in California are serious. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, advocating. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, you know, a part of it. I'm, you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm out here on the streets. I'm living, you know what I'm saying, you know, doing what I need to do to take care of my family, because that's my responsibility. You know, and finally I am able to do that. And I feel, you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm doing something. I wish I could do more, but I'm doing what I can. And I know, you know what I'm saying, it's going to get better, because I'm a keep pushing until it gets better, you know, and that's got me to where I am now. And like I say, this is the best I've ever been doing. I can't speak for nobody else, but for Joey, this is the best I've ever been doing. And I've been out 9 years. That's the longest I've been out, since I was 9 years old, you know, because that was my first offense. I was 9 years old. And that's not bragging, you know. You know what I'm saying, you know, I did what I had to do because there were circumstances. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel when you know, I'm doing YouTube now, so I'm a content creator, and this is, I mean, you know, a lot of it is telling the stories, it's the stories of my past and the stuff I've been through. I'm still working on my book, and I've been, you know what I'm saying, you know, like I say, I've been busy, you know, grandpa duties have been, you know what I'm saying, you know, a fun place for me to reside. No, I love, you know what I'm saying, you know, spending time with my granddaughter is the best part of my day. But yeah, you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm just getting back into getting back on here and speaking with my folks. And you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm apologizing for, you know what I'm saying, you know, leaving y'all hanging for so long, but the holidays went long, and then, you know what I'm saying, there was some other stuff that went on that y'all don't need to know about. But you know, I'm here, you know what I'm saying, you know, can't stop, won't stop. You know, standing tall with Snowroc is gonna continue. And if you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe, the like, the share. Send this to me. If you don't know, send it to anybody. It doesn't matter. Send it to yourself. Those things help my channel. Now, this don't cost you a dime. It don't cost you a dime to hit that subscribe. It don't cost you a dime to hit a thumbs up and like. You know, it's appreciated. Hey, I'm a small time hustler trying to make it, and this is my hustle now. This is one of my hustles. You know, because like I got a job. That's my full time. You know, that's what pays the bills. You know, right now I'm chasing the bag. So, you know, everybody's got to step your game up. So anybody, you know what I'm saying, you know, anybody out there, you know what I'm saying, tap in with your boy. I ain't hard to find. All right, everybody, stay safe.